You have 4 minutes. Please begin your speech now.
Good morning, judges, opposition, and ladies and gentlemen. We on the affirmative side strongly believe that Japan should lower the age of adulthood to 18 because it will bring about 2 important advantages. These are democracy and safety. First of all, we would like to present our plan. We treat those who are 18 and 19 just as well as adults, which means that we give them the same rights and obligations as adults. Our plan will bring the following advantages to Japanese society. 81. The first advantage is democracy. Under the democracy, fairness among generations and balance of rights and obligations have to be maintained. And also, we need to adopt opinions from as many people as possible. Our plan will enable us to achieve those things. At present, people aged 18 and 19 do not have the rights to vote, and their opinions tend to be ignored. According to the report published by Tokyo University in 2006, the rate of voting of people in their 20s is lower than that of people in their 60s. This clearly shows that the opinions of young people have relatively less influence on politics. They therefore tend to be ignored by the politicians. When our plan is adopted, the voice of young people will carry more weight in politics. Moreover, a survey done by NetAsia Incorporated showed that 49% of people aged 12 to 18 answered that they would go to election if they received the rights to vote, and that 55% answered that they had an interest in politics. This clearly shows that 18 and 19-year-olds will take part in politics when they receive the rights to vote. If the voice of young people is made stronger, we believe that politicians will begin to regard their opinions with a similar level of importance as those of older people. Furthermore, many people under the age of 20 are already making significant contributions to society. According to a September 2001 article in Asahi newspaper, 30% of people aged 18 and 19 have, just like adults, already worked and paid income tax. If they are already contributing to society, surely then they should also be given a say in how that tax is spent on their behalf. Moreover, we can achieve a proper balance of rights and obligations. For these reasons, Japan can achieve more democracy if 18 and 19-year-olds are given the rights to vote. 82. The second advantage is safety. Our plan will bring more safety to Japanese society. At present, people aged 18 and 19 are punished by the juvenile law when they committed a crime. However, this system doesn't work as a deterrent. According to the crime white paper published by the Ministry of Justice, the criminal rate of juvenile is much higher than that of adults. This clearly shows that the juvenile law cannot work as a deterrent against crimes compared with the penal law. If our plan is adopted, we can make the country a safer place because the number of juvenile crimes will definitely decrease. According to the crime white paper of 2007, published by the Ministry of Justice, the number of juvenile crime decreased after the juvenile law was made stricter in 2001. It clearly shows that in Japanese juvenile law, the number of the juvenile delinquency will decrease. Moreover, if we apply penal law to people aged 18 and 19, we can exclude from policies those with fewer morals. For these two advantages, we strongly believe that Japan should lower the age of adulthood to 18. Thank you.
Time. Are you ready?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes. Please begin now.
Let me ask you some questions. First, you said about democracy, but please tell us, please define what democracy is.
Democracy is the fairness among generation and balance of rights and obligation.
Okay, thank you. And what is the merit of the democracy?
If our plan is adopted, we can achieve the fairness among generation and balance of rights and obligation. We can, if our plan is adopted, we can achieve more democratic country.
So what will be improved?
What will be improved? What? Pardon? Pardon?
What will improve?
Democracy will improve.
Okay.
And I said fairness.
Okay, thank you. And you said about opinions, but what kind of opinions will be reflected?
The youth, the opinions of youth who are 18 and 19-year-olds will be reflected.
Okay, thank you. Next, about the safety, you said that the juvenile law became stricter, right?
But juvenile law was made stricter.
And it worked, right?
What?
It worked as a deterrent, right?
Juvenile law does not work as a deterrent.
What did you say about the juvenile law? It became stricter.
According to the crime white paper published by the Ministry of Justice, the criminal rate of juvenile is much higher than that of adults. So we can say the juvenile law cannot work as a deterrent.
What did you say after that?
After that, after what? After
You said the juvenile crime decreased, and
we can achieve more safer country. Japan will.
So why should we why should we change this present situation?
Because I said, according to the crime white paper, I said that the criminal rate of juvenile is much higher than that of adults. It is a problem.
Okay, thank you. And you said that the crime rate was higher in adults, right?
Yeah.
So why can you say that it is because of the difference of the law? Just because of the difference of the law?
We cannot just, but we don't say but it is one factor. One big factor. We can say that is one big factor of decreasing.
Okay, I'm moving back to the democracy. What is the demerit of unfair situation?
Unfair situation, according to the Democratic Party, Kato Toshiyuki, at this present, this policy will burden.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Please begin the speech now.
The affirmative plan will cause these serious disadvantages. Disadvantage 1. This plan will cause more improper voting and confuse Japan's politics. A. Prison situation. According to the Wakamono no Keiko 2006, quote, more than 50% of voters in their 20s tend to vote for candidates who are popular on TV, unquote. This is an example of young people's improper voting. According to Talento Giin 2008, quote, the former Osaka governor, Yokoyama Nokku, who was supported by many young people, damaged Osaka with his terrible financial management. This was very serious, unquote. B. Effect. Mr. Kenji Kamura, a former prosecutor, and Ms. Rika Koyama, a psychologist, say in 2005, young people tend to cast improper votes because they are so immature. This will confuse Japan's politics, unquote. Let me show you another evidence. According to Seiji no Ishiki 2005, about 60% of 18 and 19-year-olds answered they don't know about politics. And this rate is higher than that of people who are 20 and over, unquote. So if the affirmative plan is adopted, 18 and 19-year-olds will cast improper votes because they have less knowledge and less experience than people who are 20 and over. Then, improper votes in elections will increase and cases like Yokoyama's will occur all over Japan. As a result, such politicians will confuse Japan's politics. C. Importance. Look at this. Many of Talento Giin or celebrities turned politicians have caused serious problems. These are the list of their problems. Nishikawa Kazutaka, murder. Morita Kensaku, violation of the election law, or Senkyo Ihan, Gredo Sasuke, embezzlement of public funds, or Kokin Oryo, and many others. Some committed crimes and some committed immoral acts. This is serious. If 18 and 19-year-olds go to vote, they will cast improper votes, and this will only worsen the current improper voting. Disadvantage 2. People aged 18 and 19 will have financial difficulties, which will greatly damage Japan's society. A. Prison situation. Many young people become victims of pyramid investment scams or marutsuhoho, fictitious claims or kakuseikyu, and other types of fraud and have financial difficulties. According to the Institute on Consumer Education or Shoisha Shien Center, quote, in 2004, young people in their 20s lost about 50 billion yen because of these types of fraud. Young people do not know much about things like cooling off periods or other ways to prevent them from becoming victims, unquote. B. Effect. After adopting their plan, it is definitely possible that 18 and 19-year-olds will also be victims of fraud. The Consumer Consultation Center, Shoisha Sodan Center 2005 predicts if more young people could have contracts, there would be many more young victims of fraud, unquote. Now, thanks to the prison commercial law, which does not allow people under 20 to have contracts, they are protected from becoming victims of fraud. However, their plan will bring about financial difficulties to 18 and 19-year-olds. C. Importance. The Japan Consumer Advisor Consultant Association says in 2006, the number of victims of fraud in their 20s is 4 times as many as those in their teens. The amount of financial damage will be larger and larger with the increase of young people's commercial contracts. In the affirmative plan, 18 and 19-year-olds will have contracts and will lose a lot of money. This will hurt their family's finance. In the end, it will greatly damage Japan's society. So their plan will do more harm than good. Thank you.
Okay. First, you mentioned Wakamono no Keiko. What's that? What's the source?
It's a TV program.
TV program.
It
Okay.
was in a
Thank
TV
you.
program.
Let's go to next. Well, you mentioned about you. Okay. You mentioned lots of examples of talento gin, and okay. Are they? What is your proof that they are really elected by those who are 20 in their 20s?
Okay, according to Talento Gin Kanagaeru 2004, what we call Talento Gin got many votes from young people. About 50% of votes came from people in their 20s and 30s, unquote. So young people are more likely to cast improper votes.
What is the Talento Gin o Kangaeru source? What's that source?
It's an internet site.
Internet site. Okay. What is that internet site held by? What's the sponsor?
The name of the site is Talento Gin o Kanagaeru.
Okay, then you don't have the actual people who are doing that. Okay, what are the definitions of talento gin? What is?
Or celebrities turned politicians. A person who used to be a celebrity became politician.
Okay. Could you define improper?
Improper voting. Improper. Okay. Improper votes is a vote you cast for in this disadvantage just because they are popular on TV and elect bad politicians like Yokoyama Noku and so on.
Okay. Okay. Are you aware of the fact? Okay. Are you aware of the fact that there has been cases in which adults are making mistakes or probably improper because improper. You said improper votes, and then
what we want to say is, as young as they are, the more likely to cast improper votes.
Okay, thank you. Financial difficulties. You mentioned financial difficulties.
Yes.
And what's the linkage between young? What's the linkage?
A link.
Linkage.
After adopting your plan, 18 and 19-year-olds will be able to have contracts, and they will be the victim. They will be more likely to be targeted by frauds such as in pyramid investment scams or and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me take some points. First, for the advantage 2 about crime. They said about criminal rate, but they couldn't explain why it is because of only difference of law. So the argument does not stand. Next, they told us the successful example of deterrent of juvenile crime, but it means juvenile law is working well now. We should not change the situation. Next, moreover, same situation will not occur in criminal law's case. According to Close-Up HEnDA 2006, in the case of 危険運転致死罪 or vehicular homicide dangerous driving resulting in death, the number of because the law changed stricter, the number of running away or hinige increased 2 times. Like this, severe punishment will not work as a deterrent. So that argument, so their plan will do more harm than good. And next, for the advantage 1, what is a good point of reducing unfairness? It is not clear. So there is nothing will be good for the society by giving the right to vote to 18 and 19. So the advantage 1 does not stand. Next, also, what kind of opinion will be reflected is not clear. Actually, 18 and 19-year-olds will cause improper voting, as we said. According to 2005 Ministry of Education, only 35% of 18-year-olds said they can understand classes of 政治経済 or politics and economics. Also, in its national test, 18-year-olds answered only 40% of 政治経済 questions correctly. So, 18 and 19-year-olds have less knowledge and they can't have right decision. So, they will only cast improper votes and the number of bad politicians will increase and 18 and 19-year-olds will not be cared rather. So the affirmative plan will only worsen the current improper voting. So we strongly believe that we should not adopt their plan. Thank you.
So about 82, what was your first attack? I didn't hear you.
Sorry, please ask me more slowly.
What was your first statement?
First statement, okay. You said about criminal rate, but you could not explain why it is because of only difference of the law between juvenile law and criminal law. Okay. So you are
Thank you very much. So next, why can you say that the restriction of penalty does not work as a deterrent?
What? So
Why can you say that the restriction of penalty does not work as a deterrent? What's the source of it?
Because criminal law will not work.
Why can you say that?
Okay, I will repeat my evidence.
So I think you mentioned about Kemunten or something.
Yeah.
Yes. So what's the source of it?
Source. Close-Up HEnDA in 2006. It's an NHK TV program. Very famous.
Do you have any evidence about that? Do you have any evidence about that? Can you show it?
It is clear evidence.
Oh, why can't you say clear? Can you show it now? Yes or no?
It was the TV program.
So why can you say that there is no advantage to give those who are 18 and 19 rights to vote?
Rights to vote. Okay.
Why can you say that there's no merit in doing so?
You could not explain the good point of reducing unfairness. So nothing will be good.
Okay, why can you say that young voters tend to make improper voting? How can you say that?
As we said, they have less knowledge. According to 2005 Ministry of Education, only 35% of 18-year-olds said they can understand classes of 政治経済 or politics and economics.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, speaker.
We, the affirmative side, still strongly believe that Japan should lower the age of majority to 18, because what they said is absolutely out of point. They said about 2 points, improper voting and financial difficulty. And they showed us some evidence, but such as 若者の傾向 or タレント議員を考える. But 若者の傾向 is just TV problem. They can prove it now. It's out of rule of this debate. You can show it now to use debate, to use it for evidence. And moreover, タレント議員を考える is just one internet site. I can make it. I can make タレント議員を考える. So it's unreliable. And they mentioned that they define the candidate on TV, but according to their define, include their famous professor or famous scholar. They're very authority. They will lead Japan to good direction. And I'll move to the second point. Secondly, they said about the financial difficulty. However, they can show us linkage between lowering the age of adulthood to 18 and 18 and 19 are going to be victim of unfair contract. Actually, according to our data, they don't have much money. More than half earns only 2 million yen or under annually. They're so small. So they need their parents' permission when they are buying expensive things. So their current situation is not changed. So what they said won't occur. Because of the 2 points, their constructive speech is completely refuted. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you some questions.
Yes.
You said that nothing will. You said that according to our data, but what's the source of that our data?
About what? Which advantage?
Maybe the last attack.
According to your data.
What you saying lastly?
According to your data. What? Oh, you mean you want to see our data?
No. Could you tell us the source of that?
I couldn't understand what you're saying about.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Next, you said about the link between the victims of fraud and adopting a plan. Right? You said about that, right?
Oh, pardon?
The link between the victims of fraud and adopting a plan. You said about that, right?
Yeah, there's no linkage.
Why can you say so?
Because you didn't show us. I asked you the linkage, but you didn't show me. You couldn't show me.
Okay, so I'll explain this linkage later.
And about your first question, I understand what you're saying. Oh, can I explain? Can I explain?
So can I continue my?
Oh yeah. So sorry. It's your question time.
So do you really believe that we made our own home pages or internet site?
Oh, but we mentioned about the possibility. Yeah, I don't know if you made or not, but you made it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for answering me.
Please begin now.
First, we declared that the number of youth crimes declined because of the restriction of juvenile law in 2001, and they said that they don't see the linkage between the restriction and declining number of juvenile crimes. But why can't they say that? They have no evidence, but we have clear evidence. Here it is. Here's the current white paper published by the Ministry of Justice in 2007. It clearly shows that there is a decline of juvenile crimes because of restriction of juvenile law in 2001. So argument is more valid in this point. And also they say that the restriction of punishment had no effect according to close propaganda or something. But they didn't show that there was really that kind of program at the time. And let's compare with our evidence with theirs. Our evidence is, here it is. It's the crime white paper published by the Ministry of Justice, and it's about juvenile crimes, but the evidence, they couldn't show the source, and moreover, their source was about traffic accidents, not juvenile crimes. So our evidence is more valid compared with theirs. And third, they say that there is no merit in giving rights to vote to those who are 18 and 19, according to the delegate of the Democratic Party of Japan, Minshito, Toshiki Kato says that opinions of young people tend to be ignored, and because of that, young people tend to be burdened. So we define that democracy, under the democracy, the fairness among generations should be achieved. So we need to take affirmative actions to achieve real fairness among generations. So at that point, we have clear merits. And fourth, they said that young people tend to make improper voting, but they couldn't show the linkage between a lack of knowledge and improper voting. So their evidence is invalid. Thank you.
Time. Thank you.
Okay, let me defend the argument. Firstly, I'd like to talk about what is a debate. Debate is discussing logically and with respect to opponents, but their argument is just evidence. So they're shirking from the debating. Now I'd like to talk about the fraud. As written in a constructive speech, many young people become victims of fraud, and the number of victims of fraud in their 20s is 4 times as that of teenagers. It clearly shows that becoming adult itself gives them a risk to the victims of fraud. We should not give them such a risk. So we should not adopt their plan. Next, about the damage of fraud. Now, people in their 20s lost about 50 billion yen in a year. And this number will larger and larger with the increase of young contracts. So their plan will just damage Japanese society because young people will lose a lot of money. Next, about improper voting. Now, more than 50% of voters in their 20s tend to vote for candidates just because of they are popular, even though they are adults. So we can easily guess that 18 and 19-year-olds will more improper votes because of their lack of knowledge and less experiences. So their plan will only worsen the current improper voting. And next, about damage of improper voting. We have many examples such as Yokoyama Noku financial management and Nishikawa Kasutaka murder. And it is certain that the number of such politicians will increase as the increase of improper voting. And we cannot ignore even one case because politicians have big power to change a society. So their plan will confuse Japanese politics badly. For these reasons, we should not adopt their plan because their plan will confuse Japanese politics. Thank you.
We, the affirmative side, still strongly support the resolution that Japan should lower the age of adulthood to 18. We have argued that our plan will bring 2 important advantages. First, please extend our first point, 81, which is about democracy. 81. Our plan will bring more perfect form of democracy in terms of fairness in generations and proper balance of rights and obligations to Japanese society. The opposition tried to attack this by saying there's no merit in giving them the rights to vote. But we need to take affirmative action to solve the unfairness among generations. In fact, there was no source for them, but there was ours. And next, please extend our second point, the 82, which is about safety. 82. Our plan bring more safety to Japanese society. The opposition tried to attack this by referring to present situation. However, they didn't have the evidence, and we had the white paper published by Ministry of Justice, so this point still holds. The negative side, on the other hand, stated 2 disadvantages, namely confused politics and financial factor. On the first point, they argued politics will be confused. However, we pointed out the evidences were very unreliable, and according to their criteria, those who are professors and all those who are have knowledge are also considered to be that kind of people. So this point still of theirs failed. On the second point, they argued many more young people will be deceived. However, we pointed out that according to our data, younger people don't have that much money to buy expensive things, so they need parents' permission to do that. So this situation does not change after after our plan. Therefore, we should lower the age of adulthood to 18. Thank you very much.
Please begin now.
Let me summarize this round from 3 points. First about voting, second about commercial contracts, and third about the criminal law. I'll tell you one by one. First, about voting. They said about democracy, but we cannot understand why we should reduce unfairness. They couldn't explain this clearly, so nothing will be good. However, we will have a big harm to the society. Because 18 and 19 has less knowledge than 20 and over, they will cast improper votes and elect bad candidates just because they are popular on TV. And as a result, those politicians will commit crimes or do immoral acts. And this is very serious. And politicians have big influence to the society, so even one case is very harmful. And taking their plan, it will only worsen the current improper voting. Next, about the commercial contract. If 18 and 19 become adults, they will surely become the victims of fraud. The number of victims of fraud in their 20s is 4 times as much as those in their teens. So just by becoming adults, the risk will appear. So we should not give them the risk to become the victims. And people in their 20s lost about 50 billion yen, and with the increase of contracts, the financial damage will be larger and larger. And this will seriously damage the whole society, not only 18 and 19, and this is very serious. Next, about the criminal law. The difference of crime rate is not because of the law. They couldn't prove this clearly. So changing the law, nothing will change. And moreover, they said the present juvenile law is already working. So there is no necessity to change the law. And moreover, in the case of criminal law, actually, the number of running away increased in Japan. So it means that this clearly shows that the criminal law will not work as a deterrent against crime. And moreover, they only talk about the evidence to our point, so the argument is not persuasive at all. And by taking their plan, it will only it will only worsen the present situation and will do more harm than good. So we believe we should not take their plan. Thank you.